What happens when two of the most powerful voices in media clash on live television? When respect turns to rage and decades of friendship crumble in front of millions of viewers. Today, we're diving into the explosive confrontation that shocked the entertainment world and left one legendary host walking off set forever. Make sure to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments because this story will leave you speechless. The studio lights blazed hot as Oprah Winfrey settled into the guest chair across from the View panel. What was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance for her latest book quickly turned into television gold. But not the kind anyone expected. The tension was immediate, crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. "Welcome back to The View, everyone," Whoopi Goldberg announced, her voice carrying that familiar authority. "We're here with media mogul Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah, I have to ask you about something that's been bothering me for quite some time." Oprah's eyebrows lifted slightly, her media-trained smile never wavering. "Of course, Whoopi. What's on your mind?" "Your recent comments about struggling television hosts needing to work harder instead of complaining about industry changes," Whoopi continued, leaning forward in her chair. "Some of us have been in this business for decades, fighting battles you never had to face." The other co-hosts exchanged glances. Joy Behar shifted uncomfortably while Sunny Hostin reached for her water glass. This wasn't going according to the pre-interview discussion. "I think there might be some misunderstanding about what I said," Oprah replied, her tone measured but with an edge creeping in. "I've always supported women in media, especially women of color. My entire career has been about lifting others up." "Really?" Whoopi's voice sharpened. "Because it seems like once you got your golden ticket, you forgot about the rest of us. Still fighting for scraps." Not all of us had the luxury of being handed our own network. The studio fell silent except for the hum of cameras. Oprah's composed facade began to crack, her hands gripping the armrests of her chair. "Handed? I worked my way up from nothing, Whoopi. Poverty, abuse, rejection after rejection. I earned everything I have. And so did the rest of us," Whoopi shot back. "But somehow your struggles matter more than ours. Your voice gets heard while others get pushed aside. You talk about sisterhood, but where's that energy when it comes to supporting shows like this one?" Joy tried to intervene. "Ladies, maybe we should take a step back." "No," Oprah interrupted, her voice rising for the first time. "I want to address this directly. Whoopi, if you have an issue with me personally, we should have discussed this privately. Not ambush me on national television." "Ambush?" Whoopi laughed. But there was no humor in it. "This is what we do here. We ask the hard questions. We hold people accountable. Or does that rule not apply to Saint Oprah?" The cameras captured every micro-expression, every tightened jaw and flashing eye. Social media was already exploding with clips and commentary. But the women on stage were too locked in their battle to notice the digital wildfire spreading across the internet. "I have dedicated my life to giving people platforms they never would have had otherwise," Oprah said, her voice trembling with barely controlled anger. "Thousands of authors, activists, everyday people who needed their stories told. How dare you minimize that impact?" "Impact? Impact." Whoopi's voice rose to match Oprah's intensity. "What about the impact of telling struggling hosts to just work harder when the system is rigged against us? What about the impact of your silence when networks cancel shows hosted by women who look like us?" Sarah Haynes tried to jump in. "Perhaps we could focus on the positive work both of you have done." "Stay out of this, Sarah," Whoopi snapped, never taking her eyes off Oprah. "This conversation is long overdue." Oprah leaned forward, her famous composure completely shattered now. "You want to talk about silence? Where were you when I was being called every name in the book for daring to have opinions? Where was your support when they tried to tear me down for speaking my truth?" "Your truth?" Whoopi's voice dripped with disdain. "Your truth is whatever sells books and gets ratings. The rest of us live in the real world, where we don't get multiple chances and golden parachutes." The tension in the studio was suffocating. Crew members stood frozen, unsure whether to keep rolling or cut to commercial. The other co-hosts looked like deer caught in headlights, witnessing something that was clearly spiraling beyond their control. "I have never claimed to be perfect," Oprah said, her voice now dangerously quiet. "But I refuse to be lectured about authenticity by someone who's made a career out of being deliberately controversial for shock value." The words hung in the air like a slap. Whoopi's face darkened, her eyes narrowing to dangerous slits. "Controversial? Is that what you call holding people accountable? Is that what you call refusing to bow down to celebrity worship?" "I call it bitter," Oprah replied coldly. I call it someone who's angry that others have succeeded where she struggled to maintain relevance. The gasp from the studio audience was audible. Even the camera operators seemed to flinch at the brutal honesty of the exchange. This had moved far beyond professional disagreement into personal warfare. Whoopi stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Relevance? You want to talk about relevance? I've been speaking truth to power since before you figured out how to monetize inspiration. I don't need your validation, or anyone else's. Then why are you so concerned with what I say or don't say? Oprah countered, also rising from her chair. If you're so secure in your position, why does my success threaten you so much? The two women now stood facing each other across the narrow space of the view set. Decades of unspoken tension, finally exploding into the open. The other hosts remained frozen, unsure how to navigate this unprecedented moment in daytime television history. Threaten me? Whoopi's voice erupted with incredulous fury. You think this is about jealousy? This is about accountability, something you've managed to avoid your entire career by surrounding yourself with yes people and worshippers. Hands trembled as she pointed across the table. I've been held accountable every single day of my public life. Every decision scrutinized. Every word analyzed. Every mistake magnified. You have no idea what that pressure feels like. Pressure. Whoopi laughed harshly. Try hosting a show where you're expected to be the angry black woman every day while walking a tightrope between honesty and palatability. Try having your every emotion policed while being told you're too much, too loud, too difficult. Joy finally found her voice, desperation clear in her tone. Maybe we should take a commercial break and... No, both women said simultaneously, their voices overlapping in rare agreement before turning back to their verbal warfare. Oprah's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than shouting. You want to compare struggles? I survived things you can't even imagine. And I chose to use that pain to help others instead of wielding it like a weapon to tear people down. Help others. Whoopi's voice cracked with emotion. You mean help yourself to their stories, their pain, their trauma for your entertainment empire? How many people did you exploit for content while positioning yourself as their savior? The accusation hit like a physical blow. Oprah staggered back slightly, her face draining of color. How dare you? Every person who came on my show chose to be there. I gave them a platform to heal, to share, to connect with others going through similar experiences. At what cost? Whoopi pressed, sensing she'd found her target. How many people left your show more damaged than when they arrived? How many got lost in your narrative while you built your brand on their backs? Sunny host tried to interject, her legal training kicking in. I think we need to be careful about making accusations without... Shut up, Sunny. Whoopi snapped without looking away from Oprah. This isn't a courtroom. It's a conversation that should have happened years ago. Oprah's composure finally shattered completely. You sanctimonious hypocrite. You think you're the keeper of moral authority. You've spent years tearing down anyone who doesn't fit your narrow definition of authenticity while hiding behind your own trauma as an excuse for cruelty. Cruelty. Whoopi stepped closer, the physical distance between them shrinking to mere feet. The truth isn't cruel, Oprah. It's just uncomfortable for people who've built their lives on carefully constructed images. My image, Oprah's voice rose to a shout. My image is built on decades of work, of showing up, of using my platform responsibly. What's your image built on? Controversy and complaints. The studio audience began murmuring, some standing to get better views of the unprecedented confrontation. Security guards shifted nervously near the edges of the set, unsure if they should intervene. Sarah N. made one final attempt at peace. Both of you have accomplished so much and inspired so many people. Maybe we could focus on... Inspired. Whoopi whirled around to face Sarah, her fury now extending to the entire panel. You all just stay quiet and let her spout her sanctimonious garbage because you're afraid of her power. That's exactly the problem with this industry. Sarah recoiled as if she'd been slapped. I was just trying to. You were trying to protect the golden goose. Whoopi cut her off before turning back to Oprah. They're all afraid to cross you because of your influence. That's not respect. That's fear. Oprah's eyes blazed. If people respect my opinion, it's because I've earned it through consistency and authenticity, not by attacking others to make myself feel relevant. Authenticity. Whoopi's voice reached a pitch that made everyone in the studio wince. You wouldn't know authenticity if it bit you on your perfectly polished behind. Everything about you is calculated. From your spiritual guru persona to your fake tears on cue. The words seemed to echo in the sudden silence that followed. Even Whoopi appeared shocked by her own venom. But she didn't back down, her chest heaving with the force of her emotions. Oprah's voice, when it came, was deadly quiet. I have spent my entire career trying to lift people up, to show them their worth, to help them heal from their pain. And you bitter, envious woman, want to tear that down because you can't stand that someone else found a way to succeed without becoming as hard and cynical as you. Bitter. Whoopi's face contorted with rage. You think I'm bitter? I'm realistic. I see through the facade that everyone else is too starstruck to question. I see the machine behind the myth. Joy made a desperate attempt to salvage the situation. Ladies, our viewers tune in to see intelligent discourse, not personal attacks. Personal attacks? Oprah spun toward Joy, her anger now encompassing the entire panel. She's been personally attacking me since I walked through that door. And now you want to tone police my response. Whoopi pointed an accusatory finger at the other hosts. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The moment Saint Oprah gets uncomfortable, everyone rushes to protect her feelings. Where's that energy for the rest of us? Maybe because the rest of you don't contribute anything positive, Oprah shot back. When was the last time any of you used your platform for something other than gossip and manufactured outrage? The attack on her co-hosts seemed to flip a switch in Whoopi. Her voice became dangerously calm, more frightening than her previous shouting. You want to talk about our platform? This platform existed before you, and it'll exist after you. We don't need your approval or your condescension. Apparently, you need my ratings, Oprah replied with equal coldness. Because this is the most relevant this show has been in years. The cruelty of the statement hung in the air like poison gas. Every person in the studio felt the impact of those words. The calculated brutality designed to inflict maximum damage. Whoopi's face went through a series of expressions, hurt, rage, disbelief, before settling into something harder than granite. Get out. Excuse me? Oprah blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift. You heard me, Whoopi said, her voice carrying absolute authority. Get out of my studio. Get off my set. This interview is over. Your studio? Oprah's voice rose again. You don't own this place, Whoopi. You're just another employee. I'm the moderator of this show, Whoopi replied, standing even taller. And I'm telling you to leave. Security, please escort Miss Winfrey from the building. The request sent shock waves through everyone present. Security guards looked between the two women, clearly uncertain about their next move. The other co-hosts stared in frozen horror as their worst nightmare unfolded in real time. The security guards remained frozen, caught between two media titans in a standoff that could end careers. The head of security finally stepped forward, his voice careful and diplomatic. Ladies, perhaps we could all take a moment to cool down and... Don't you dare try to manage me. Oprah turned on him with volcanic fury. I came here as a guest, and I'll leave when I'm ready to leave. Not because some washed-up comedian thinks she can throw me out. Washed up. Whoopi's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more threat than any scream. At least I didn't have to manufacture a personality cult to stay relevant. At least I don't have to pretend to be everyone's spiritual mother to get attention. Oprah took a step forward, closing the distance between them to almost nothing. And at least I don't have to tear other people down to feel important. At least I built something instead of just sitting here complaining about everyone else's success. Built something. Whoopi matched her step forward, their faces now inches apart. You built a monument to yourself. Every charity, every school, every initiative has your name plastered all over it. It's not about helping people. It's about your legacy. The words hit Oprah like physical blows. But instead of backing down, she seemed to grow larger, more imposing. My schools have educated thousands of children who had no other opportunities. My charities have fed families, built communities, changed lives. What have you done besides criticize from the sidelines? I've told the truth, Whoopi replied, her voice carrying absolute conviction. I've refused to sugarcoat reality or pretend that positive thinking solves systemic problems. I've been authentic even when it cost me opportunities. Authentic. Oprah's laugh was harsh and bitter. You think anger and cynicism equal authenticity? You think tearing people down makes you more real than building them up? Joy made one last desperate attempt at intervention. Please, both of you. Our audience doesn't need to see. Our audience deserves to see the truth. Whoopi cut her off without taking her eyes off Oprah. They deserve to see what happens when someone finally refuses to bow down to the Oprah mythology. Sunny tried a different approach. Think about your legacies, both of you. Think about how this will be remembered. My legacy will be fine, Oprah said coldly. It's built on substance, not empty controversy. Substance. Whoopi's voice cracked with incredulous rage. The clubs and celebrity interviews, feel-good platitudes, and manufactured moments. That's not substance. That's entertainment masquerading as enlightenment. The accusation seemed to break something fundamental in Oprah. Her entire body began shaking with rage. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no concept of the responsibility that comes with real influence. Real impact on people's lives. Real influence? Whoopi stepped even closer, their faces almost touching now. You influence people to buy things, to think positive thoughts while ignoring real problems, to worship at the altar of celebrity culture. That's not influence. That's manipulation. And what do you influence people to do? Oprah's voice rose to a roar that made everyone in the studio jump. To be angry, to tear each other down, to give up hope because the world is too broken to fix. I influence them to think critically, Whoopi roared back. To question authority, to demand better, to see through the smoke and mirrors that people like you use to distract from real issues. Sarah H. finally found her courage. Both of you are icons who have inspired millions. This is icons. Whoopi spun towards Sarah with fury that made her shrink back in her chair. She's not an icon. She's a brand. Everything she touches turns into another revenue stream. Another way to monetize human emotion. Oprah's face went white with rage. How dare you reduce my life's work to money? Every platform I've built, every opportunity I've created, every voice I've amplified was about service, not profit. Service. Whoopi's laugh was cruel and cutting. Service to your ego, maybe. Service to your image. But real service doesn't require cameras and applause. The studio fell into a silence so complete that the hum of the air conditioning seemed deafening. Both women stood breathing heavily, their fury having reached a crescendo that left everyone else speechless. Then Oprah did something no one expected. She began to clap, slowly and deliberately, her hands creating sharp cracks that echoed through the stunned silence. "Bravo, Whoopi," she said, her voice dripping with false admiration. "You've finally shown everyone who you really are. Not the wise moderator, not the voice of reason, but exactly what I said. A bitter woman who can't stand seeing others succeed. And you've shown everyone that beneath all that spiritual guru nonsense, you're just as petty and vindictive as the rest of us," Whoopi replied, her voice now eerily calm. "The only difference is you hide it better." Oprah gathered her purse and stood with regal dignity. Every inch the media queen reclaiming her composure. "I don't need to hide anything. My work speaks for itself. Your bitterness speaks for you. My honesty speaks for me," Whoopi corrected, also straightening to her full height. "Something you wouldn't recognize if it introduced itself personally. Ladies," the floor director's voice crackled through everyone's earpieces. "We need to wrap this up or cut to emergency programming." Oprah turned to address the cameras directly, her media training kicking in even in crisis. "To everyone watching at home, I want you to know that I came here today in good faith, hoping to have a meaningful conversation about important issues." Good faith. Whoopi moved to block Oprah's path to the camera. "You came here to promote your book and got upset when someone asked real questions instead of lobbing softballs. Personal attacks aren't journalism, Whoopi." Oprah's voice rose again as she faced Whoopi one final time. "They're just cruelty disguised as courage. And manufactured inspiration isn't wisdom," Whoopi shot back. "It's just case manipulation disguised as enlightenment." The two women stood facing each other in what everyone present knew would be their final confrontation. Years of tension, professional rivalry, and fundamental philosophical differences had exploded into something that would define both their legacies. "I'm leaving," Oprah announced, her voice carrying absolute finality. "Not because you told me to, but because I refuse to participate in this circus any longer." "Good," Whoopi replied with equal finality. "Don't let the door hit you on your way out." Oprah began walking toward the exit, her head held high despite the chaos around her. But then she stopped, turned back one final time, and delivered the words that would echo through entertainment history. "You know what, Whoopi? I feel sorry for you. I really do. Because at the end of the day, I built something beautiful, and all you did was try to tear it down. And I feel sorry for everyone who bought into your act." Whoopi replied without missing a beat. "Because at the end of the day, you sold them a fantasy while I tried to give them reality." With those words hanging in the air like smoke from a battlefield, Oprah Winfrey walked off the View set for the last time, leaving behind a stunned panel, a speechless audience, and a moment that would be replayed and analyzed for years to come. The cameras kept rolling as Whoopi turned back to face the audience, her chest still heaving with emotion, and delivered the line that would close the most explosive episode in daytime television history. We'll be right back after this commercial break, if we still have a show to come back to. That's the story of how two of the most powerful women in media destroyed decades of respect in front of millions of viewers, proving that even icons can fall when pride and principle collide. What do you think triggered this explosive confrontation? Was it years of built-up tension or something deeper? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories from behind the scenes of your favorite shows.